Hey, welcome to the podcast. I'm Matt. I am the creative director and vice president of operations for Route 3 Productions. This is our podcast. Today we're going to be talking about commercial work and pitching and working with clients. If you're a part-timer or if you're a full-timer or you're a professionalist, whatever the case may be, you want to learn how to work with your clients. You want to know how to pitch them. You want to know how to work with them and how to prepare. And most importantly, you want to deliver the best quality work that you can possibly deliver for your clients. That's what we're going to talk about here in about 10 seconds flat. Stick around. I'm Matt. This is the Route 3 Productions podcast. Thanks for joining us. I've always kind of wondered, kind of, about how to deal with your customers and your clients. I think it's something that all of us have dealt with at some point, especially if we're professional photographers, and it's something that we deal with on a regular basis. Thanks for joining me again. I'm Matt Pierce. I am the creative director, vice president of operations for Route 3 Productions. This is our podcast where we talk about the business of photography and videography and how to make a successful living at it, because it's not easy. It's really not easy work at all. And in this episode, we kind of chose to dive into the commercial aspects of work, and I hope you learn a little something about this. I hope there's something you can take from it, but I want to give you a little quote here from Jimmy Chin, the great photographer and director. He says, "Presentation is important. Confidence is important, but you should be able to back everything up with your work." There's a lot to be said for that. Presentation, how you do it, is absolutely important. Having the confidence to do it is absolutely important. But if you can't back it up, you don't have anything. And we see that a lot in photography and videography. We see a lot of cookie cutter videography. We see a lot of cookie cutter photography. A lot of people going around saying, "Oh, this looks great on Instagram." Well, there's something to be said for that. But if you can't truly back it up with a really, really, really good quality image or video, then what do you really have? You're not delivering your clients what they're paying for. And I think, we do, at Route 3 Productions, we do a lot of editorial assignments. We also do a lot of commercial work. The subject matter for both could really be the same, really. But the process, and quite frankly, the results of it are quite different. The differences, I think, kind of hold true, although the process isn't always clear. And for example, I'll give you a good example. It is possible to shoot a commercial job with more of an editorial process, if that makes any sense to you. Now, most people that would make sense to, but you can shoot a commercial job using the editorial process and vice versa. So right off the rip, I want to talk about what the difference is between editorial and commercial photography. Going through this, editorial photography, the end story, the end goal is to tell a story. Okay? Generally, with editorial photography, your client is a magazine or some type of publisher, right? So the photographer, videographer is kind of this quote unquote fly on the wall, kind of observing and just generally capturing moments as they happen. Okay? So you kind of want to be discreet. You don't want everybody to know you're there. You do this a lot with wedding photography. Wedding photography, you can be kind of imply these editorial photography practices, but talking about the difference, you want to be that fly on the wall with editorial. The photographer or videographer in editorial work has the creative freedom to tell the story as they choose, kind of as they see fit, right? You're going to likely shoot very independently on editorial work without your client being present. So if we're shooting a story for a magazine, right, or whatever, for a newspaper or for one of the websites, our client may be 1,000 miles away. They're not going to be on site with us managing this editorial process. We are shooting something kind of as we see it, as it happens, right? Because that's how editorial works. I have to be able to shoot what I see when I see it and tell that story very accurately, okay? Also, in editorial work, and this is very important, by the way, in editorial work, the photographer usually, more times than not, retains ownership of the work, although the magazine can request exclusivity for the use of that work for an embargo. Okay, that's what we call an embargo, a period of time. It can be 60, 90, 120 days. I've seen it go all the way up to 3 years, 4 years, 5 years on an editorial photo. Okay. So that's kind of, just to kind of give you a rundown, to sum it up, editorial photography, the goal is to tell a story. Your client is usually a magazine or some type of publisher. You're a fly on the wall. You have creative freedom, and you're shooting independently, usually without the client there, and you retain ownership of the content in most cases. Okay. Now over to commercial work. What is the end goal for commercial work? You're to tell the story of a brand, or to tell the story of something like that, right? A brand, a product, a hotel, whatever the case may be. The client is going to be that company, brand, or their agent, their marketing agent, okay? In this case, instead of being a fly on the wall, you direct the action to achieve kind of a desired outcome. What you've talked with the client, you've had these pre-planning meetings with them, you know what goal they're looking for. You're going to now direct that to make that happen, right? Okay. Hence why on a lot of commercial jobs, we'll have a director, or the videographer can be the director as well. But the brand usually has the final say on the creative decisions of what you're doing. The photographer generally works with the brand and within the brand guidelines, and you have an approved shot list. So we're going to have a meeting. We're going to develop a shot list. This is what they want us to nail. This is what we got to get. Nothing more. Okay? Within the confines of their brand. Okay? The client usually, in most cases, is approving the images as we work, right? So on a commercial job, a client may be on site. Okay? They usually have a rep. The marketing agency might have a rep on site with you. Somebody's going to have somebody there kind of helping you direct that, approving the work, approving the image as you go along. Okay. Also, let's talk about ownership of the image. Unlike editorial, where you own the image, the client usually retains ownership of the work, commissioning it for hire. Okay. So what that means is your customer, your client in commercial work, usually retains ownership of that image. Not saying that you can't use it. Okay, usually we'll build it into our contract to allow us to use that after an embargo period for self-promotion only. Okay, but they retain the ownership of that stuff because they're buying it, right? I mean, just the truth of the matter, they're buying the image from you, okay? So to kind of recap, what is commercial photography? The end goal is the brand story, okay? Your customer is a company or brand. The photographer is usually directing the outcome. And the brand will usually have the final say on all the creative decisions. The client is usually with us on site, and the client retains ownership of the work. That's commercial photography. So right there, you can tell a few stark differences between editorial photography and commercial photography, just in the approach that it is. So for a commercial shoot, your priority is to meet the client's needs while keeping in mind that they've come to you because they value what you bring to the process. Okay? Now, it can be a tricky balance to know when to gently push back on a client's idea. Okay? It can be a real tricky balance. If your relationship with your client is one of those that you can insert ideas, do it. But you want to preserve that relationship, okay? One way I think, and this is just me, I think to approach this is to make sure that you first always get exactly what the client wants. And then shoot alternate ideas if you have time. It's really important, okay? I'm going to say that again because I think it's so important. You can shoot what you want if you have time. If not, then you need to make damn sure that you're nailing down those shots for your customer, okay? You can pitch this to the client as a value-added service all day long, your extra work, right, if you have time. Assuring them, though, that you're going to get exactly what they want plus an additional option. Now, sometimes you'll be working directly with the client, but other times, more often than not, there's an ad agency in the middle. And that's okay. We work with ad agencies all day long at Route 3 Productions. We do. We work with ad agencies constantly. So that's generally between the client and you, right? That ad agency. They've, for whatever reason, gone with an ad agency. It's not uncommon. It happens quite regularly. That's just another person involved in the process. So then you have to make sure, though, when you're working with the agency, that you're working together and you're elevating each other's ideas so that in the end, your client's very happy. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about, since we're talking about commercial photography, I want to talk to you a little bit about the two different ways you can get commercial work. This is probably what you were tuning in for. Creative director, which is what I do, will generally contact you directly, okay? So we are the photographer, but we're also the creative director too in a lot of cases. So usually a creative director, say a marketing agent, will reach out to Route 3 Productions because they've seen our work, they like our work, they want to work with us. This is ideal, mind you, okay? Because you know that they've already seen your work, they like you, they like your style, and they want to figure out a way to work with you, okay? You'll meet with the agency or the client. You'll talk through the project, make sure it's a right fit for everybody, right? Because we turn down jobs on a routine basis. We have to. We turn down jobs quite regularly because they just don't fit. And sometimes you have to be smart enough just to know that it doesn't fit, right? So sometimes there might be a fixed budget for the project, but other times you'll need to come up with a bid that your client or the agency can approve. Sometimes it gets very complicated. So the first way is, ideal way, is when a creative director or somebody in an agency sees your work and they approach you directly. That's the best way. Another way is they send out an RFP, a request for proposal, inviting us to pitch for a job, which that's kind of an open competition between several photographers. For this type of work, it's very important to understand the criteria which the agency or the client is making their decision. Ideally, they're making their choice based on creativity, but sometimes I guess they're primarily looking at the bid, the number. Okay. So talk with them. Assess the situation. It's a fair point to ask if they have a fixed budget. Creative concepts are really paramount in these kind of cases. So ask, what's your budget? Okay. I mean, it's really that simple. I mean, so that's the two main ways that clients find you. They'll either reach out to you directly because they've seen and liked your work, or they'll put out an RFP. Okay. So next, how to pitch your work. That's the $1 million question. How do I pitch my work? Well, first off, do your homework. Research their previous advertising. I can't even say that word this morning. Advertising campaigns. Become familiar with the brand. Learn what their values are so that you don't pitch something to them that's really inappropriate. Ask questions about how the campaign is going to be used. Is it going to be used in print, social media? Is it going to be used on TV? Is it going to be used? How is it going to be used? Right? All of this, mind you, is research. And it's going to go deep into your proposal, into your pitch deck, whatever that you submit. Okay? Next, and this is before you even get the job, create a pitch deck. How many of you out there know what a pitch deck is? A pitch deck is just something that clearly communicates your ideas to the agency or the client, and it shows that you would know how to approach the project. A good pitch deck. What does a good pitch deck have? Well, I'm going to tell you. It has an overview that clearly states the nature of the project, the objectives of the project, and how you'd meet those objectives. A pitch deck also references images to support that overview that you've given them. Ideally, you'll pull from your own work. But if you don't have something that's really appropriate, then, pull from other people's work, making sure that they understand the images are for reference. Okay? Make sure that your customer understands these aren't your images. They're only for reference. Okay? In that pitch deck, you'll include a bid, which you'll send with the pitch deck as a separate document. That's what I do. And then you'll kind of attach a calendar in there, right? Listing the prep and shooting days and key check-in dates, all that good stuff that the agency and client's going to need, right? So they'll need to know this in order to approve things and to stay on schedule, because keep your deadlines sacred, okay? Now that they've contacted you for work, okay? You pitched it. You need to draft a budget. If someone asks you to buy wine for a party, and they handed you a $5 bill, you just have to tell them, right, that's probably not enough money unless you're going to get like Boone's Farm or something. And you may not even be able to buy a bottle of Boone's Farm. But you just have to tell them, right, that's not enough money. Okay? That same analogy really does hold true for any commercial job that you do. Okay? The creative concept and the available resources to complete the job really need to line up. Or else, what's going to happen? You're going to be buying this fine wine for dinner with $5. You don't want to do that, right? That's why you can't really pitch a creative concept without also pitching the budget right along with it. Okay? Because the two really do go hand in hand. Your pitch really does express what you'll do, and then that bid, that draft budget, tells them how much it's going to cost. So when there's a fixed budget for a project, it's your job to figure out how to spend within that budget. Okay? That's your job. If you don't think it can be done, you need to tell them that, and you need to be very transparent with them that, hey, look, I don't think we can do it on this amount of money. And don't try to hit them up for more money here. That's not what this is all about, okay? That's not the name of the game here. That's not what you're doing. You're trying to set reasonable expectations, okay? They can't hand you $20, $50, $100 to go out and put in all this work and expect you to deliver this high quality content, okay? You might be tempted to think, oh, but somebody else will. Well, that's great. Let somebody else fight that fight, okay? Because I guarantee you they're going to lose money in the end, okay? Now, in your pitch deck, once you've created your pitch deck, once you've kind of drafted your budget, show your passion about the project. Whenever you're talking with an agency or a client, it's really important to show them that you're fully engaged in what they're doing. I generally don't do some projects just because I don't care about them. If I don't care about it, I don't love it, I'm not going to do the greatest job I can with it. Okay? I'll give you an example. We don't do a lot of family photography because I just don't love it. We don't do a lot of weddings because I just don't love it. I'm not in love with this type of photography. So I'm not passionate about it. So I know I can't deliver to those customers the highest quality of work because I'm not passionate about it. I don't care about it. So we generally don't do it. Now, if I have an emotional or some sort of connection with the client, we will. Because I can get excited about it. If I can't get excited about it, I'm not going to fool with it. So show your passion. Ideally, I think they'll feel like their project is the only thing in the world that you're thinking about. So have a positive, solution-oriented attitude towards the project. That goes a really long way. But not really only when you're pitching it, but throughout the whole process as well, right? So you've got your pitch deck, you've got your budget, your client has found you, things are going good, right? That's great. Now what? Well, you got to manage the project. So once you've been approved, right, and once you've got the contract in place, once you've got everything in place, the creative direction, the budget, the schedule, you need to stick to it. Keep your budget and your deadline sacred. Do not, and I repeat this, do not go back to your customer and hit them up for more money on commercial work. Do not do it. We see it all the time. Do not do it. Know how much this stuff is going to cost you and stick to it. Because that just shows your ignorance towards the trade, if I'm just being honest. So once you have the project in the bag, know the creative direction, know the budget, know the schedule, keep your deadline sacred, and stick to it. Ideally, you'll have a producer to kind of manage these things for you so you can focus on the creative problem, and that solves the client communication issue. But generally, work with your clients. Now, I'm not saying that changes aren't going to occur, because they do. Changes happen all throughout a project, so you'll need to be clear when they do, when you're working with the agency and the client, what effects the changes mean. That does not mean going back and hitting them up for more money. Now, if they want you to do a photo shoot in San Antonio, Texas, at a certain location, and they're just not getting the feel for it, and you've done everything you can do, and they say, hey, we really want you to go to Mexico City. And you've got to go to Mexico City. Well, then let's redraft this whole thing, and let's go back to square one, because now the budget's changed. Okay, that is the only time I think it's acceptable, if there's a significant, major change to the process. But then again, you're going to communicate that with your client, right? Okay. So let me kind of put it to you a different way. Sometimes, I guess, is what I'm trying to say is the change is small, doesn't have any impact on the budget or the project whatsoever, or the schedule, the deadlines. Then don't worry too much about it. But other times, like if they want you to change locations from San Antonio to Mexico City, it's going to affect both of those. Okay? Before you agree to the change, you have to make sure that the agency and the client both understand, what's the word I'm looking for? The ramifications of what they're asking you to do. If that means the budget or the schedule is going to change, they need to approve that before anything else happens. Because what you don't want to have happen is for the client to ask for a change, then you've done it, you inform them what it's going to cost and why it's going to cost more, or the project is set back another day. So you don't want that to happen. Okay, it's your job, or your producer's job if you have one, to make sure that the client is making informed decisions. So there are some resources out there for you if you are a commercial photographer or videographer. When you're pitching an agency or a client, it's important to address specifics of what exactly they are asking you to do. This is usually spelled out in the bid, in something like a terms and conditions page, maybe. But some details that you're going to need to address in your proposal when you're bidding are: what is the schedule? That deadline, keep it sacred. What is the cost? How is it broken down? How many finished images will the client get? Exactly. What right does the client have to use the image? Is it in all media? Is it just specific platforms, genres, mediums? How long will the client be licensing the image for? 6 months, 2 years? Perpetuity. You know what that word means? Perpetuity. That's a word that we use in photography and videography a lot when we're dealing with agencies. Perpetuity. That's infinity. Okay, that's a legal term for like infinity. So what is that embargo? 6 months, 2 years, 90 days? Perpetuity? Infinity? You're going to put in there, in all of this, what is the client responsible for? If you're shooting a product, is the client going to provide it? Are you going to have to buy it? That needs to be in there. What are you going to be paid for? When will you be paid? Half up front and half on completion? That's generally what we do. Not all the time, but generally that's what we do. That's pretty much an industry standard. What's your cancellation and rescheduling policy? Don't forget, there has to be a place for everybody to sign. So if you're creating this contract, make sure that there's a place for everybody to sign who needs to sign, whether it's the client, the marketing agency, you, the photographer, videographer. This is all in a detailed proposal and helps really eliminate confusion, and it really protects you against assumptions that your client might be making, but they aren't explicitly coming out and telling you. So one of the resources that I suggest is Photo District News. It's a real useful magazine. Kind of, if you're interested in commercial work, there's a lot of articles in there. It's all about commercial photography. I would check that out for sure. If you'd like to get on with an ad agency or maybe get on a client's radar for potential future jobs, check into the Photo District News. That's a good one. I use that a lot. Yeah, I do. It kind of helps me come up with some ideas for reaching out to clients. I do use Agency Access a little bit, but I don't use Wonderful Machine quite as often, but it's a neat marketing service. Wonderful Machine. Let's talk a little bit about that because I don't use it a lot, but it's a marketing service for commercial photographers. It's a good resource for you. You can apply there to be listed on their site, so that potential clients can find you. We were listed in LeBook. It's kind of like LeBook. You remember LeBook? Wonderful Machine kind of helps you with marketing, estimating, editing. They can even help you produce the entire shoot if you want to add that to it. But I mean, you're a professional photographer. You ought to be able to do that. Blank Bid. Let's talk a little bit about Blank Bid. It's commonly used by photographers, commercial photographers. Kind of helps you create bids for your job. It'll help you make sure that you don't forget an important line in there somewhere, right? And there's a subscription to that. Photo Editor, it's a real valuable website for commercial and editorial photographers. I think it's Rob Haggart. I think he runs it. ASMP. I'm a member. I love it. The American Society of Media Photographers. It's a national organization. They have some local chapters. Members are listed in their Find a Photographer database, so it's a really good tool for you. Plus, you enjoy a lot of good benefits. I mean, there's discounts for Blink Bid, insurance, photo workshops. You get some discounts from Apple if you use Apple. But ASMP, American Society of Media Photographers, is a really good organization that I endorse. I love them. So now we're kind of winding this thing down a little bit, but now you want to be a commercial photographer. Okay? So what does it take? That's what we do, commercial photography. In general, that's what we do. In videography, right? So you want to get into the business. This sounds like fun to you. It is fun. But you want to be a commercial photographer or commercial videographer. Take a real hard, long look at your website. Make sure it presents your very best work in a very clear way. A busy art producer, I can tell you this from a fact, a busy art producer or creative director doesn't want to spend time trying to figure out how to access your images through these different tricks that you use to try to collect data. They don't have time for it. Group your work very systematically and label it very clearly. And try to use only your very best work on your website. Quality is key here. Look at the website of other photographers and see how their site works. Don't necessarily do that in your local market because it's kind of, if customers have already seen it, they've already seen it. And there's nothing there that makes you stand out. So if you see something you like, maybe adapt it, but don't necessarily do it. And besides, it may just be the blind leading the blind, right? They could be leading each other off the cliff. So get some inspiration there. Make sure your phone number's on there. Your email should be listed. Not a contact form that somebody has to fill out and wait for you to contact them back. They don't want that. They want to deal directly with you. It's also very important to have a really strong portfolio of work to show prospective clients. Find a professional photographer and ask if they'd be willing to review your work. I've done that several times throughout my career. I've asked and paid for professional photographers to look at our work. people like Ira Black from National Geographic, Evan Ranth. I've paid for critique to learn what they think of my work. If you're interested in working with a specific brand or find out who their ad agency is, then you need to identify that agency's art producers or the art buyer so that you can get in contact with them directly. Ideally, you want to be able to come into their agency so that you can see, so that they can see, some of your work. Okay? Send a brief email, a couple of really strong images telling them why you'd like to work for them and why you think you're the right photographer. Tell them you're going to follow up with them in a few days with a phone call. Make sure you follow through. If you don't hear anything back right away, that's not necessarily a bad sign in this business. These art directors and art buyers are incredibly busy people. It is okay to continue to email them a brief, polite email once a month or maybe every 2. Sending 1 or 2 appropriate images with that email is perfectly fine. Your job is impersonal as an email seems. Email is the most effective way to get in with these busy art buyers. Okay? Be pleasantly persistent. Don't be overbearing. Okay? So if you're interested in a certain genre, okay? Let's say you're interested in doing a certain type of photography, like maybe it's adventure or fashion or food, whatever, right? But let's say you don't have that much work already built up in your portfolio, then you need to create a body of work that represents that, right? Shows your capabilities. You can often negotiate a trade for prints kind of deal with models so that you can use images for your own portfolio. We generally don't, but sometimes you can. The images you produce need to be very high quality, okay? And remember, you're trying to show off what you can do. So consider that. Keep that in mind if that's a route you want to go. It's not unheard of, but trying to forge a relationship with these art producers, it can be really incredibly helpful to connect with another person in line. Because now we've talked about art buyers, we've talked about art producers. There's still yet another person, and that's the creative director. If they love your work, let's say if the art producer, the art buyer loves your work, start working with the creative directors. Sometimes you'll reach out to the creative director first, because if they love your work, they will lobby for you to their art producer or their art buyer to consider you for a job. Find out if there's a local group for ad agencies and start to go to some of their events. That might include award shows, lectures, social groups, whatever. If you don't know anyone, it might take a while until you can create some genuine connections there, but it's worth looking at if that's what it takes to get your first lucky break into an agency or something. So find out if there's a nearby chapter of either the American Photographic Arts, ASMP, PPA, Professional Photographers of America, something like that. That can always help you. So the bottom line is, know what you're shooting. Be prepared to shoot, whether it's commercial or editorial, and just jump on it. Make sure that you keep your deadline sacred. Make sure that you keep your budget sacred and that you're not always having to adjust that budget, and just keep it going. Just keep it real. So, working with clients is difficult. It can be extremely difficult, but it's extremely doable. Okay? It doesn't have to be difficult. Okay? So just document everything. Make sure that you're hitting all your markers, your deadline and your budgets specifically, and communicate. Pilots always say, aviate, navigate, communicate. Do that with your customers and you'll be just fine. I hope this kind of gives you an insight into commercial photography and what we do as commercial photographers. I hope you've learned something from it. I hope you can take something from it it's really an interesting career path forward if you're an industrial photographer or a commercial photographer, videographer. It all kind of falls into the same deal. We do both photo and video. But, maybe if you're a customer, do us a favor. Consider us, Route 3 Productions. You can visit us at www.route3productions.com. And I am the Vice President of Operations, Chief Photographer, and Creative Director for Route 3 Productions, Matt Pierce. Hey, thank you for joining me. I know you've been listening to the past 41 minutes of this podcast. I hope you've learned something about commercial photography. I really do. And I hope you'll stick around and visit us again. Please share, like, subscribe, download. It really helps us out. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Thanks for joining us. And I look forward to our next conversation. We'll talk soon, everybody. Take care. I'm Matt. Thanks for joining me. Have a good one.